3. As you can see, I'm not our president, Megan Castellone. She has a sick child, and so I will be filling in my role as vice president today. And so it's good to have you. Welcome, everyone. Hopefully, everyone is surviving the end of the semester as we all are, and getting ready for a wonderful break. I know that roll call has happened. Thank you, Secretary Hodge. And we have a quorum, and so we will go ahead and begin. Jessica thankfully sent out the minutes from last month from our meeting on November 12th that hopefully you had a chance to review. Are there any additions, corrections, revisions to the minutes? Seeing none, is there a motion to approve the minutes? So moved from Senator Bellon. Thank you. Is there a second? Second from Senator Benson, who I saw first. Thank you. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Thank you. The minutes are approved. And I have these wonderful slides that you can tell I'm not used to using. We're going to start first with some presidential updates that Megan helped put together with the executive team. Keeping with our theme of celebrating, collaborating, and innovating, we wanted to celebrate, of course, and our community projects team will mention this again too, but just the wonderful Keep the Midlands Beautiful trash cleanup, and you can see some of the pictures there. 32 pounds of trash, woohoo! And thank you to all the volunteers who helped with that. We appreciate that. There was rivalry week recap, where we happened to beat the Clemson Tigers, which is great. 6,228 pints of blood donated, and over 6,500 Gamecocks attended Tiger Burn, which was a record. And so even though this already in my mind seems forever ago, it was a great time to celebrate that great win. Collaborating, wanted to let you know that Megan and I attended the first ever South Carolina Staff Senate Council meeting virtually, where we met with leadership from other colleges and universities, staff, senate, or council leaderships. It was very illuminating to see where they are, where we are, and collaborate and even commiserate on things that are happening across the state and how we might be able to work together to further our mission, as well as help some institutions who are not as far along as we are, even though this is just our infancy still, so to speak, of our 4th year, how we can provide and share resources across the board. It was very informative, and we hope to keep you posted on that. We also collaborated with the College of Education and the Carolina TIP program to gather supplies for a teacher in need at Irma Middle School, and we delivered those. You see some pictures there. It was a wonderful time, and thank you for everyone who donated. She was so very appreciative. And under innovation, you may have heard again with the College of Ed that USC was awarded a $35 million federal grant, I think the largest in USC's history. This is something about innovation because it happened in the College of Ed, but many staff members were involved tirelessly in working on this. And so we're really excited about the innovation that it's going to bring and how staff were involved in making this a reality. A couple of reminders, please. Don't forget that based on your agreement to be on Staff Senate, that there are 7 absences afforded each of us, maximum between general body meetings and committee meetings. So please keep that in mind as your committee meetings happen, as our general body meetings occur. And please make sure that you're keeping in touch with your staff colleagues with whom you represent. And remember, those may be in your immediate area. They also may be outside your immediate area, based on the swath of individuals that may be that you may be representing based on the parameters given under your particular unit. You should be giving regular updates, and also please make sure you connect with the leadership of that particular unit to which you are assigned, the vice presidents, AVPs, directors, so that you know what's going on and can serve as a resource to them. And if you need help with that, please let anyone on exec know so we can talk to you and give you some thoughts there if need be. It is my pleasure now to welcome our guest speaker for this afternoon. Kelly Epting, who's Associate Vice President for Finance and Budget, is going to share some thoughts with us about the budgeting process at the University of South Carolina and how staff can be involved. Thank you.
It's always a pleasure to see one's face up on the screen like that. I don't think I've ever spoken in front of this body before, so I really appreciate the opportunity. Please let me know if I'm not speaking loudly enough, but I usually don't have an issue with that. What I'm going to do for you today, and I've got my phone out to make sure that I'm not running over time, is I'm going, because I could talk about this forever, so I'm just going to give you a nice broad overview of some economic trends in higher education, as well as a little bit of a discussion of our budget model, because that has been talked about and used, the name has been bandied about quite a bit. And so I thought that that would be of interest to you. And then also, hopefully, we're leaving plenty of time for questions at the end. So, cost pressures in higher education. You know, of course, we've all had a lot of cost pressures ourselves in recent years with high inflation. And higher education cost increases have really been something that you've probably heard your entire time being in higher education. And so how do we, you know, break that down simply? I'm going to be, you know, what I'm talking about right now is when I say how do we break it down simply, how do we break it down for the legislature? How do we break it down for parents and for students? And so, you know, put on those that lens, if you would. The big costs that we have to deal with are, of course, in the non-personnel arena, we have contract escalations. Something that, you know, library subscriptions or computer, you know, software that we will always, a lot of times have escalation clauses. Insurance, that's always something that's going to increase. We understand that from our own experience. Utilities, last year we had to put an additional $3.5 million in the budget for energy increases. I think this year we won't need to, we put in a little bit, about the same amount the year prior. And, you know, Dominion Energy, we had an agreement with SCANA, with SCE&G, and then that, and Jason knows a lot about that, that comes to an end, it gets translated into something else, and we have these huge increases. Overall inflation, just food and travel, really, I'm sure that you've noticed that everything that you're doing, if you're processing any kind of financial documentation, that the price of everything is going up. With personnel, we receive some money from the state. They call it tuition mitigation. I'll go into that a little in the next few slides. But really what they're doing there is they're saying, hey, we'll come alongside you and pay for those cost of living adjustments that are in the newspaper. The fact that we have an increase in our health insurance a lot of years. Sometimes we do, sometimes we don't. And that the state will pay for that. Well, but what about pay for performance? We end up having a lot of our faculty being poached from other institutions. We have staff poached from other units on campus. So we're always trying to retain the best and the brightest, but that can be very difficult whenever after a couple of years you've been told, okay, the only increase that your unit is getting is just for exactly what the increase in cost is going to be. So that really is no increase, right? You're just staying with your head, you know, above water. We also have federal regulations with FSLA, you know, what's the new maximum, you know, when do we have to start paying overtime for those employees that are right there between that exempt and non-exempt. So, and don't forget that our salaries are a vast majority. We are a service industry, and 81% from the system is our cost of our personnel. So these, you know, very small numbers, so I won't go into this for too long, but what we do here, and when we're talking to the state about these very things, we're saying, you know, we are not just experiencing the inflation that you're putting on us with those mandates, which when I say mandate, that's that thing that they're making us do that we don't have a choice in. They're making us pay everybody 3.5% raise. Again, great, but we need to find some funds for that, right? They would say, okay, well, you know, why do you need that if the CPI is low? You know, sometimes they go talking about CPI, Consumer Price Index, and sometimes they talk about HEPI. And so is anybody familiar with the term HEPI? HEPI is another index, just like the Consumer Price Index, but it is specific to higher ed, the Higher Ed Pricing Index. And so the CPI, a little quick economics lesson, includes a basket of goods. But Happy also includes salaries as well. And what did I just say in the last slide? 81% of what we do is salary based. And so we're arguing with the state about which one we should pay attention to. But if you look at this graph, and it's the one where you see the percentage change for Happy versus CPI, sometimes it's higher, sometimes it's lower. And it's really funny, but sometimes they change their minds depending on where CPI is. You know, they always want to choose the lower number, right? And so that is something that we struggle with in educating folks at the State House to explain why our prices are increasing and why it's a real thing. It's not just USC or Clemson or MUSC talking about it, that it's actually something you can go to the national trends and see. And so they show this every year. This comes out every year, just like CPI comes out every month. Happy comes out once a year. And just what I would take from this is that, hey, sometimes higher ed costs increase at a greater rate than the regular inflation that you see in the newspaper. Sometimes it's lower, but in general, that kind of orangey russet line is the Happy with the trend going upward, and that green line is the CPI, which is lower. So I guess this, what is that? Whenever the CPI gets a sneezes, Happy gets a cold. And so just a little bit of what the kind of back and forth that we're having to do with the legislature, how we're trying to argue with them, and it's not argue, but be persuasive, let's say. So we're always talking about the budget. And this is our, just circular every year we go through this cycle. Again, very small words. If you get it, you can, more than happy to give you a copy of these slides. But what we're doing is we're already talking about 2026. And so we have already given the state what we would like to have for 2026. And then we've already talked to myself, government relations, and the university budget director, Kevin Russell, have already gone to talk to the governor's folks in the executive budget office to explain about these cost increases, to explain about things like, wow, thank you so much for that money that you provided for us for Health Sciences campus, but let's do something else. We can't let the dust, fall on us. We have to keep moving. Anyway, so we start that. We talked to them in October. In January, the president is going to go in front of the House Ways and Means Higher Education Subcommittee, and he is going to talk about, okay, this is what we've done with the money that you have given us, and this is what we would like to do with the additional funds. Sometimes those groups are Gamecock friendly, and sometimes they're not. The House is, if you follow any of the budget going through the state, the House is very much pro Gamecock, but the Senate is not. So, we'll, have our song and dance and receive, and I wouldn't say overt applause, but we just receive, I feel like, a lot of knowing nods, right, from the House. But with the Senate, it's, just a lot colder. And, there happens to be some tigers in that room. And so, but we're always going in front of them. And that's one of the main, managing the internal budget is one of the main things that my office does. But this is the other thing, right, is trying to produce documents that the president can take with him to show what we're doing for underrepresented minorities, what we're doing for internships for our students, what will be the result of having a health sciences campus. At first they were like, why are you leaving the VA? Don't they want you to stay? And it's like, as a matter of fact, they don't. That's something that they've decided they've got enough federal money, and so they don't need us on their campus anymore. But just even something that simple of folks thinking, okay, why are they trying to create this whole new cost for us whenever they have a good deal? And so it's a lot of fun. And about the time that it ends, it starts up again. But when we look at this in terms of our own internal budget, we do not know what we are going to receive from the state until after sine die. And that is they say it's in May, but it could be in June. It's been as late as July. And as we know, our new year starts July 1. And so when we're crafting the budget, we don't know how many students are going to show up. until, you know, they're showing up in the fall. We don't really know what the state is going to provide to us. So there is a lot of prognosticating, a lot of trying to figure out, okay, are we going to get the House version, which favors us more highly, or are we going to get the Senate version? Now, there's a conference committee in there too. I mean, we can get way into that, but you didn't ask for Craig Parks and Derek McGee to come. But so there's just, you think, well, you know, the numbers are the numbers. No, they're not always the numbers. And so I would just put that before you, that we come up with a good budget that we do provide to the board, but there's always that caveat based on the approval of the 2026 budget of the South Carolina legislature and the General Assembly. So what has been the result or the fruits of our labor with this so far? This is just a trend of our base budget numbers for the system from the Great Recession in 2008 through 2024. And if I were to have an up-to-date slide, 2025 would go up even further. This was a very dark time starting in that Great Recession. We received 2 budget cuts through the year. The folks that we met with when we went before them to say we needed more money every year because costs increase, we're not in favor of that. We went from 25% state funded down to about 8% state funded. We've only recovered about to 15% of our budget state funded. But you do obviously see that there is some a positive result, right? There was a change in leadership, and incrementally over time, people that were different chairs of different committees. And so it really can be that random, but it seems that overall that there is more of a positive feelings and thoughts for higher education. There would be one thing though, you would look at this and you would say, well, you know, we obviously have done even better. You know, we're back to where we were and better. This is not adjusted for inflation. These are real dollars. And so we have not, and I'll show you a little bit more about that. This is our graph of resident tuition, flat. You know, we began in 2020 with the tuition mitigation concept. And that's when that legislature said, okay, if we give you the mandates, remember at this point, inflation was relatively nothing. If we give you that, then you won't increase the cost to the students. And we said yes. And we're still doing that. For the residents, you know, for non-residents, of course, we went up 3% last year and another 3.9 this year, but tuition, same. Program fees, we also have kept that the same because if you're a parent, you're not going to differentiate. So technically, they're not saying you have to keep program fees the same, but strategically, we believe that that is the right thing to do. So that is why the engineering fee is the same program fee as it was whenever we embarked on this journey with flat increases or no increases. But we have grown. And so I know that everyone has seen, you know, the per unit has not changed until only recently for non-residents, but we have grown in terms of size. And so this graph, the garnet is the non-resident tuition year over year, and then the black is the resident. Graduate programs have not done as well. But in this particular economy, if there's a lot of, you know, jobs out there sometimes it's easier to just stay working than to go back to school. But if you really see where the jobs go down, then they're like, well, I might as well go get an advanced degree. So there has been growth. We are seeing some additional state dollars. We're seeing some additional tuition dollars. Tuition is about 50% of what we bring in our operating budget. This is a little bit more technical, and it's actually what we presented to the governor's office whenever they said, how do you intend on reducing tuition? And nobody answered that. That's funny. You know, you call up Clemson, you call up Coastal or whoever, and nobody gave a plan for how we were going to decrease tuition. But we did talk about, and this is really bringing all of these ideas together. This is saying, hey, what you have given us is the blue bar cumulatively. The cost, the HEPI increase, remember, specific to higher ed, is the gray. So the state is the blue. If I were to impute tuition, it would only be about a third of that little differential right here. So we still have increases and have lost purchasing power. And they say, hey, why are you not decreasing your tuition? Well, if our tuition is flat, the garnet, and we've got the CPI to the students, we've got our own happy, we really have given them savings, default savings, by not increasing tuition. So that is external. Let's talk about internal for the remainder of my little talk, and then I'll take questions. Has anybody heard of the budget model? Hands, anyone? So it's what it is in a nutshell is it is responsibility-centered management. And what that means is rather than every year you get the same amount you got last year plus a little bit for those mandates, maybe a little bit extra for a special program, you actually get, according to a formula and a process, your tuition revenue, academic units. And then you pay your directs, you pay your people, you pay for your travel, you pay for your conferences. But then you also pay in how much you use central services. And so I've got some slides that show you a little bit about that. So budget model structure, you have 3 different types of units. You have the academic units, support units, and auxiliary units. So auxiliary units, they're supposed to stand alone, housing, athletics. So if they're standing alone, then they have to eat what they kill. The academic units are strictly law, Arnold School of Public Health, Darla Moore School of Business, nursing. It's not the provost office. It's not even the library or the honors college. The ones that are in the middle don't bring in the revenue. Honors college brings in some revenue, but not the amount that arts and sciences does. The library, and everybody has some grants here and there, but the lion's share at this institution are those academic units. And by the way, the School of Medicine is not in this model. They're more like they deal with their own, and then they pay in some to central. So budget model 101, 3 different types of units. I'm not going to talk about auxiliaries again, because they are standalone. If housing needs to increase, and we do allow that, because hey, the price of housing, the price of meals, that increases. But we're talking about these other 2 and the relationship between the academic units and the support units. This is a graphic that actually Cooper, I'm trying to remember, he's a faculty senate chair. Anyway, he's like, the faculty need a graphic, and I'm not sure if this is beautiful or inspirational, but at least it kind of walks you through all the different pieces of it. And so I'll go through each one of these for you and just kind of think about it, ask me questions about it. Whenever, let's see, I'll just keep going and then we'll see what bubbles up. Revenues, again, in this model, if a tuition dollar comes in, it goes to a college. Summer school, it goes to the college. Indirect cost recovery on grants, it goes to those colleges. Certain things like that program fee, engineering gets 100% of that program fee. But if it is an undergraduate student who is an engineering major who is taking a biology class, the biology, arts and sciences gets 70% of that tuition and engineering gets 30%. If that makes sense. So if an engineering major takes an engineering class, the College of Engineering receives 100%. But if that engineering student decides to go off and take a psychology class, again, arts and sciences get 70% of that. So it's trying to be somewhat precise, but yet not so technical. We don't have like financial aid. We are not that specific. Does that make sense? So an undergraduate student only gets 1 unit value. We don't punish a college because they happen to have a student body that has more financial aid than another one. So that all goes, again, it all goes to the colleges. None of it's going to the support units. Then those colleges pay their people, staff, faculty, adjuncts, temporary, all of it is paid directly. And they also pay for their grant expenses, of course. All of those restricted funds stay just like they used to. If you received an award for $10 million to do this effort, all of that is going. None of that stuff gets siphoned off. But here's what people get, where the rubber really meets the road. It's those indirect uses. The colleges are billed based on their proportional use of different activities. So the research office is funded proportionately by the colleges that bring in more research. So it's based on research dollars. The honors college would be based off of undergrads because the honors college is not servicing grad students. And so, again, if you get to have a copy of these slides, and I don't mind sharing them with you, this is a lot of detail behind those costs. And this is where some of the deans would say, I can't hire anybody anymore because you're charging me for those people. Or, why am I being charged too much like a nursing dean? Why would I be charged for some of these adjuncts that are only coming in and doing one class? And so then we have to sharpen our pencils and work through figuring out, okay, how can we make this, that balance between precision and being able to be executed. And so as a result of all of that math, this is where the subvention comes into play. And again, with this body, I'm not really sure who all is thinking about that, but here goes anyway. Each college, not every college makes money. And I think that it can be quite shocking. It was hidden under that incremental model, but in this model, it's very, very plain. Some colleges cost more because their faculty are very high in cost. They have a lot of labs, for example, or maybe they have not very many students, or maybe they have all graduate students. And in that case, we have a formula that mixes and matches. We say, okay, this college has a $7 million shortfall. We agree that that's okay. That's important because this college is doing exactly what it's supposed to do. So we are going to subvene it. So another college that makes a lot of money, maybe there's a lot of students and the faculty aren't as high a cost, those units help pay for the one that is being subvened, $7 million. And then we actually have some money remaining that is for strategic initiatives. So if a college wants to open up a new program and the president and the provost deem that this is important, we need to put some more investment in that, then we will do that through the strategic initiative funding. So our calendar for the budget model, we also start in the fall. A support unit, so those of you who are in support units, if you feel that you need more money above that mandate amount, then your VP is putting together a request. If you want us to have this done, we're going to need additional funds. This is how much it is. This is what we expect it to do in terms of helping our strategic plan. And that is adjudicated through a committee called the Support Unit Allocation Committee. They advise or prioritize, but they do not decide. They let the president know, okay, of the $66 million in requests that we've received, we think that these 5 at the top are the best. And then the president goes through looking at what he thinks the best. And then my office is talking to enrollment management. Okay, how many students are we going to bring in? How many are going to be full payers? What's the financial aid situation? How much are we going to get from the State House? And so all of it coalesces in the spring. And then we give a budget to the Board of Trustees for their approval. So very quick and dirty. My last slide, this is the budget model governance, because we're not doing this alone, a bunch of finance nerds in a dark room. We have, like with the Support Unit Allocation Committee, it has 3 deans and membership, the Faculty Senate Chair. We also have folks from support units. We have a way that we're trying to make sure that the Faculty Senate, the Faculty Budget Committee, that this body as well is just understanding. And really, to me, for you guys, is a part of the journey. There's no sense, if you don't want to receive it, then we're not going to tell it. But we're certainly here to gauge, okay, what's the right amount of detail that y'all would like to see? We are doing a new model beginning in 2026, but all of these slides still fit. It's only along the margins that we have some small incremental changes, and these changes have been talked about with the steering committee, including deans, an outside consultant to help be objective. And so things like this, where we have 13 different pools, we're only going to have 7 if the board approves of that, and it's going to be much simpler. So that kind of thing is being changed, but still this ultimate schedule is still in existence. So that's all I have. Are there any questions? Yes.
So this is relatively new, maybe past 5 years.
It started in 2021.
Okay. Oh, very new then. Why did we go this route? Like what made what we were doing not?
The board was constantly asking, okay, what colleges are winners and what colleges are losers? Now, we call them net contributors and net consumers. Because again, just because it's a high cost program, it does not mean that it is not useful and necessary. It's just, that's why we have universities, right? And there's I think Harvard is one of the few institutions that has every college with every tub on its own bottom. But that's Harvard, right? So anyway, so it was the board, and we said, hey, if we're going to go ahead and do this alongside a provost that was saying we want these colleges to feel like they have more skin in the game, more of a direct impact, their behavior. And so it kind of coalesced into let's just create this RCM model. So yes.
I think that the tuition funding is 50%. How much is state funded, and then development fundraising is factored in.
We have this is our operating funds. So, I mean, if development ends up funding some activities, then it follows through. But if we look at the pie chart, which I didn't bring, it's 50% tuition, about 16% state, and then there's auxiliary revenue in that pie as well as restricted giving, as well as unrestricted giving, and then other services. Yes.
On one of your slides, I work for the Department of IT, and it said total head count. Does that mean everybody, the faculty, staff, student?
If it says total head count, then it's faculty, staff, student. But in some of those cost metrics, we were only looking at undergrad FTE. With IT, I think we were looking at, okay, did you say head count? Because we are looking at head count if we think, okay, if everybody, it's a little bit of a cost for this person to have an email, then maybe head count's more important than an FTE. So it depends on which pool you're talking about.
And that then in turn correlated to what the academic units were quote unquote paying, taxed, however you want to label it. What about between the different support units? So the support that DOIT provides for, say, the provost office and the other support, and vice versa.
That is outside of that. The IT, we continue to be assessed what we call it telephone charges. We have left that outside the model, and it has remained the same. Or if you have special like server decks that you're, whatever it is, I just remember Doug Foster talking about, you do certain things that one college would use and another college wouldn't, or a support unit would use, that is outside. You're go ahead and you're doing that on your own. You're charging the provost office, they're paying you, and it's running, that kind of transaction is running alongside this model.
Do you think that would possibly create an issue in which, say, the provost office would then start hiring its own IT people and have a duplication of services?
That's why with IT, I know that Bryce is trying to bring about, okay, we don't want everybody to have their own iteration of Zoom. We don't want everybody to have their own CRM. We want to be able to provide sufficient service to where the provost office is not going to hire somebody. So yeah, you're exactly right. And for a lot of those things, like telephone,
Oh no, I'm just.
Are we okay?
To help you.
Okay, if you're trying to dance me off, I'll I'll be happy. But yeah. Get off the stage. But like with IT, those telephone charges. I mean, we have said, hey, why don't you get rid of those telephone charges? But what that means is that, okay, so those entries will go, but your budget has to be replaced, I think about $3.5 million. Right. And then that means that in a sense, all the academic units are going to start paying that $3.5 million. And so we need to kind of think through that, because the support units were paying it, but we also could reduce we kind of work through teasing it out to make sure that, again, we're trying to make it as equitable as possible. We're not trying to do that a political way to, okay, oh my gosh, we just got screwed, but they're sitting pretty, right?
Right.
So, and yeah.
That's good to hear, because something like this happened about 25 years ago, and it led to the academic units and supporting units to vastly decentralize,
Right.
and there was significant duplication of service.
Absolutely, and that's happening with the grad division, with a lot of folks in their colleges saying, I'm gonna do my own grad admissions and all that. I mean, there's a lot of duplication that, but from our perspective, we can't roll up in there and change policy, but we can certainly be there to crunch the numbers and to explain that, this is a lot of unnecessary stuff happening. Is it really that important to be so precise with this thing when we could design it in such a way that it's going to flow more naturally? Why, to me, it makes no sense to have duplication, right? But certainly it's not going to be the finance office that tells the Moore School, okay, you're no longer going to be doing it. I used to work in the Moore School, so I feel like I can talk about that, but you're no longer doing this part of the grad. You're going to surrender that over here because it's going to be done to your liking centrally, right? And so again, it can't just be done by finance. It has to be led and guided by the academy, by the provost, by the president, by folks in CAD. Lisa.
So when you have the more revenue-based colleges and you're needing to siphon some money for the expensive colleges, who are the decision makers who decide who's giving up and who's giving?
That's the provost and the president. Yeah, so whenever we're moving to the next model, again, which is going to have some minor revisions, it's still going to probably create, if we want them to basically have the same purchasing power, that subvention is probably going to go a little up or down in all of those. And so if I were doing it and wanting to create the least amount of noise that first year, as I would probably set them, everybody the same, but then you got to look at them and you got to decide, okay, maybe we shouldn't be paying $7, and I'm not calling it, I'm just using 7 million because it's a nice big number. Maybe we don't need 7 million at this school. We don't need to subvene them 7 million. Maybe we only want to take them down 6.5. Maybe this college, they have a whole new major and we want to put 2 million and bake that into their new subvention number, right? So those are those big discussions that, like I said, they need to be made by somebody who's moving strategy. And we're the ones, again, that are crunching those numbers to make sure that they have a pretty good idea of what they're doing. Cool thing is we have a budget product that bolts on to PeopleSoft Finance. It's called, the name of the product is called Anaplan, and we haven't marketed it. It doesn't have a cute name, but we're actually able now to, if the president says he wants to give $3 million to IT, we type it in and it automatically shows you the graph of who's going to be bearing that burden and what that's going to look like. And so we're trying to, work faster, smarter, and all that to get them what they need to make the right decisions.
I have a very good question. For the 11 years that I've worked at this university, I've heard this rumor. We make more in vending machine sales than we get from the state.
No, that's not true. No, we absolutely not, absolutely not. But the thing, it's like a lot of things. It's like whenever somebody says, "What's our enrollment?" It's like I got to ask you 5 different questions to figure out what you really want to know, right? So when they say vending, I'm thinking it's strictly that money that's going into our R funds, which we use for commencement. Any kind. If you see anybody on the horseshoe with food and all that stuff, is paid for with vending money. And it has gone down a lot because these students are doing a lot of the fresh alternatives in our food service. And so at one point it was like, I'm trying to remember, it was like $650,000 a year, which is not, because the state money is more like $300,000 a year, right? So that's a big difference. But now, because students are eating healthier and they're able to do some grab and go, grab a yogurt or something and not a pack of Ritz or a pack of Nikos, it is more like in the 450 range. And then I'm like, oh my God, you know, our food prices are increasing. And how are we going to raise money for the canapes when somebody graduates? And so then we run around, you know, Ed Foundation, you know, where can we find some more money? Can we get some more concessions from athletics, like maybe a portion of theirs? And they're like, we got NIL, we, you know, don't mess with us. And it can be challenging, and just such a simple little thing as that. So more than what you wanted to know, but anybody else? Yes.
There's a question online that says, does the budget model only apply to operating budgets or to personnel budgets as well? Who oversees those allocations?
What kind of budgets as well?
Personnel budgets.
That includes personnel budgets, yes. Absolutely.
And then who oversees those allocations? And I think you just answered that.
Well, I mean, they're flowing according to a formula, right? The president and the provost, you know, everybody decides that, hey, we don't want the support units to fund those mandates. You know, your paycheck went up by 3.5%. We need to take a portion of that new money coming in. We need to increase, and we need to give that to all of those units. So that is a decision that is made by the provost, the president, CFO, and then on up through the board. If a unit like arts and sciences wants to give a bunch of faculty pay for performance raises, if they see how much more tuition they've received, then they can perhaps give their own pay for performance raises. They don't, you know, go elsewhere. But a support unit, if they say, hey, our people are going to run, you need to give us another $1.2 million to give them pay for performance raises, then it goes through that support unit allocation committee. They prioritize, they say, okay, but wait a minute, but what about this other thing? What about this other thing? The president sees it, he reviews it, and then he decides. So just kind of a little, I guess, for an example.
Excellent. Maybe a point is the chart ahead with the flat line on tuition.
Yeah.
You know, just a wall, but would you see at some jump? I mean, I know it's been great for students. As you mentioned, fees and other things, jobs and other things. What are your thoughts about that? Hard to say.
We end up hearing from the General Assembly what kind of appetite they have for an increase. And it's always been before the flat line, that's what it was. You know, what do you have an appetite for? And we're starting to hear, we can't keep doing this. We can't keep doing this. So we're thinking that at some point in the next couple of years, but something will pop up and all of a sudden we're like, oh my goodness, we can't do it now. So it is that all of those things have to come together before we figure out how to do that. And do we want to do that and then Clemson not do that? And they're not, you know, so what would be great if Clemson would go ahead and come through like in March and say, we're going to increase, you know, tuition by this. And then they're like, wee, and then we'll, if they do it by 6, then we'll be doing it by 5.5. And then we'll come out, but you know that we are 19% less expensive than Clemson because they jacked up their tuition. How many years ago? It was one time that they just took a beating. They went up 40%. And then it all died down. Well, we bring in 19% less tuition, and we also bring in less state money per student than Clemson. So, you know, it's a struggle. The struggle is real, and sometimes we bring that up.
Any other questions?
I just wanted to sort of get your opinion for the state of South Carolina. Discussion about the competition between the higher ed institutions in South Carolina and having multiple degree programs that are the exact same thing and how you're competing for the exact same students.
Right. I mean, that's, you know, the Commission on Higher Education has talked about that for years, and they would, you know, try to get us to not have duplicative programs. You know, it's just kind of, it's a great big old mess, in my opinion, because we also probably have more institutions than what the state population can support as well. And so who is to say music is only going to be done here and engineering is only going to be done there, and you know, social work master's is only going to be done here. And so those things are brought up all the time. But in terms of executing an organized effort to actually have all of these institutions get in line, no. And that is nationwide. Yeah, I was at a conference last week and we were talking about that very thing.
And you got to add in too that private institutions have even less state regulation and, less control over what the state has less control over.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is there any old law from like the 1800s that we could close down Clemson? They recently broke off and got their own.
It did at some point. They all tried to we tried to close us down at some point, I think in the 1800s. Yeah. So anyway.
Please join me in thanking Kelly Epting for her time. Thank you so much. We really appreciate you and your information. I will say for those of you who thought the CRM models was something brand new, those of us who came from tuition dependent private schools before we came to USC, we've had that for forever, just because if there weren't students there was nothing going on. Want to now have our reports of committees. And please let me remind you that as your committee chair or co-chair comes forward or their designee, if you'll come to the front so our individuals online can hear you, so we can get some updates on the hard work that I know is happening across Staff Senate. We'll start first with membership.
Yes, I'd love to. It's my favorite part of this meeting. So membership has been working on finding out who represents what area. And if you're in a college, you probably already know who the people are that you represent. People in student affairs or finance or provost office. We don't have that luxury. There's a lot of small offices that maybe aren't being communicated with. So what Catherine's handing out is the, what's it called?
Staff Center representation.
Yep, it's a spreadsheet that has like all the units that and who represents those units. So hopefully this will help so you know who you should be talking to, who you represent. What else do we need to say? Oh, and also January will be exec elections. Yes. Oh, no, sorry. January we'll have more information about the February exec elections.
It is.
Yes, yes.
So with that, be thinking, if you're interested in an executive position, be thinking about that. We'll also have more information in January and a chance to talk to the current exec about what the role is and all the responsibilities thereof. But please dutifully consider joining the executive team for next year.
Does anybody have any questions about this? I mean, feel free to email either one of us about it. Yeah, go ahead.
Not a question.
Uh-huh.
But a clarification.
Yeah.
That although you may be a senator at college, some units all under voting rights. So for example, in my union, the technically advisors, not my constituents.
Right.
Some people in development are not my constituents. I provide them the information, but it just made me to know and get your HR list. So you're clear on who you do represent.
Absolutely.
That's a good one. Anything else?
Is there a difference between the people who are in bold and the people who are not?
Oh, yeah. So the people in bold are leaving.
Okay.
So the senators that are staying aren't in bold. So you can see like some of these areas are going to be all new. So help the new people.
With that, be thinking of someone who would be good to come in.
Are there going to be maybe an infographic or something that we can send out to constituents now to get them thinking about running in the future? Because we're not too far away from election, just to start getting them thinking about it. I know in the past we have run into some email issues where not everybody has gotten information. maybe if we sent out information about people running, we would be able to troubleshoot those problems.
I think exec is working on some communication that's going to be university-wide, or they hope. Yes, hope that they can do a university-wide. But I think we probably need to work with communications. So that is going to be on part of the plan for when it's time to nominate.
That's a great idea. The new year, everybody comes back hopefully refreshed, and that begin looking ahead. I think that's something really to do. There's another question.
Oh, sorry.
Two questions.
We're down Senator from DLI to what do we?
So-
In the interim,
So I don't know. I didn't know.
I can answer that.
Yeah.
So the reason for that is, according to the bylaws, if you have other senators in your area, you do not get a replacement in the
Okay.
interim. Yeah, if like a college, because they only have one senator, then they do get a replacement, but that's a really great question. But you will get the third one or whatever again this next election cycle, yeah. And then also, I would just encourage everybody, please look at the bylaws. They are on the website, they run our organization. Please look at them because it also determines whether or not you can run again. Because there are opportunities for senators to run again, to be for the next year or whatever, or the next 2 years. So please take a look and see, and that's also, there's information about term limits and things like that, both for senators as well as executive officers. So definitely take a look. Because if you're interested and can stick around, we'd love to.
Yes.
I was wondering if the membership committee has been able to make any progress, or if this is something that's just not going to happen with giving colleges more representation.
That's a loaded question. We have been working. So we, of course, inherited this last year. They inherited the reapportionment. And so I think that what we've decided is maybe we need to have the conversation as a body to find out if colleges feel like they need more people, if they need another senator, because it's very difficult we end up having to become very large a body because we want to keep the same proportion of senators. So like, let's say if somebody had 125 staff members and they had one senator and we upped it to 2 senators, then somebody on the staff who maybe had 150, they have 2 senators also. Yes, it creates an imbalance. I can't, it's really convoluted, but it creates an imbalance where people like admin and finance has a huge group of people, and they would be giant if you proportioned it all out. So that's where the problem has been about the apportionment. And then we've gotten to conversations about RGP, time limited, FTE. So there's been a lot of work going on about that. So even if it changes, it's not going to be for 2025, it would be for the 2026, because 2025 is a really large population change, and it would be good if it could be in 2026.
What we're hoping, we spent a lot of time at our last exec meeting, just membership committee, one of the chairs were able to come and look through that. And what we're hoping to is in the spring, bring that to the body and get some thoughts from perspective from you all about the need and what you're hearing from your constituents and that sort of thing before we look at what's possible to be equitable to staff across campus, and who are we talking about when we talk about staff across campus and things of that nature. So I know it is being worked on. We're trying to figure out what is the best way to bring it to the body for a discussion. That would be great for an all-day retreat that we don't have all day to do. So thank you for bringing that up. Yes, ma'am.
And what I would add to the conversation is that because we have such a huge proportion of senators who are rolling off, the idea was also, let's stabilize a really strong election process, because that's foundational and then move on, because the apportionment is not going to be resolved anytime soon. So let's get our next batch of folks, because this has to go well. There's so many people being newly elected. So the timing of it was also a consideration to discuss.
And also, what was it, 640? What's
Yeah.
the representation? We're looking at possibly
Absolutely. And there's also discussions about the cause of that, should we do a third, and a third, kind of like the US Senate does, so everybody doesn't roll off at one time, and so there's lots of ideas to consider, and remember, us being still younger, 4 years in, that, these are the growing pains that I will say that I like to hear about, because then we can see, are we still meeting the mission that we want to in the way that we want to, and so I think these kind of discussions are going to be healthy, and hopefully we will begin that dialogue with everybody in the new year.
Yeah, it's something that's still being talked about, even if it's not brought up, because
we need to talk about it.
Yes, absolutely.
it's an exhausting conversation, because it pulls in a million different other things. but-
Anybody else for membership question? Thank you.
Thank you.
Communications is going to go last because they have some updates to share with us that we're excited about. And so next we'll have policy and well-being.
No. You know what sections you want?
Do you want to go to HR transformation? I'll go down.
Okay.
All right, we have a lot of updates. Our committee did a lot of work this. Oh, thank you.
You can share.
Okay. Our committee did a lot of work this past month, so shout out to all of them. I just get to read it and kind of make it seem like I did it all, but we did. It's not true. So one thing, we connected with Robin Peace about. People came to us saying that there were some concerns from RGP employees. And that kind of connects a little bit of what I know exec and membership have been discussing. So we were able to get her general feedback, of course, protecting confidentiality, about some of the concerns that RGP employees are facing. And I can't read that, Jason. Yeah, so we're going to discuss it in our committee.
Okay. They basically were trying, when we touched base with Robin, she basically was trying to check to see if they knew the limitations of their positions when they were signing up for them. And then were our contract letters, did they explain it enough on the front end? And then did they truly understand that they were foregoing the right to the grievance process by the nature of the job?
So that's information we recently got that we haven't brought back to the rest of our committee. That's something that we'll discuss with them and of course bring to y'all as well, just to see what can we do in relation to what the HR policies are. We also have been advocating with multiple people across campus to make sure that our ombuds and all ombuds across campus at our campus are classified as a confidential resource. There has been a little bit of discussion about what that means. And so we've gotten some administrators and leaders behind this effort, and hopefully it will move forward. Parking and transportation, thank y'all for the really good questions that you all shared last time. We used our resource, which is standing next to me, for P&T. So we learned that with the handicap situation of parking, yes, previously USC did issue those based on whatever doctor's notes. That was not compliant with state or federal regulations. So that was ended in August. They said they put all the information in one of the 411 emails. So yes, now to park, to have a handicap permit, you have to go through the DMV. Does that solve the temporary handicap issue? No. P&T looked at having those temporary spaces available, but it wasn't quite feasible for a number of reasons. So that's why they're trying to leverage the paratransit that we collaborated with them on. So they're really saying, hey, no, yes, it could take 4 weeks to get a handicap sticker from the DMV, and you may no longer have that temporary handicap. Let's use the paratransit services. That is something they're able to give, and use that through the TransLock app. We worked with Faculty Senate as well, since they were bringing a lot of these concerns to us, and we were kind of already working on it. Carolina Guardy had a lot of really good updates. We'll make sure this is all written down somewhere because it's a lot. Thank you. Obviously. Leave me alone. It's December. Clemson is going to be taking the lead on sponsoring the dependent tuition remission policy that we've all been pushing with the state, and hopefully it will be introduced in the spring. That's really good. Our Craig Parks is attending those HEPA meetings we mentioned previously to try to move some other initiatives forward, such as what are staff supposed to do on election day? The clarification is kind of lacking in that. So USC is still doing some of our parts as well. The university is not going to be implementing the FLSA threshold due to the newest court ruling. Departments are now going to be responsible for looking at that threshold and transitioning to exempt versus non-exempt. HR did receive buying for an engagement survey in the spring with Modern Think. So that will happen in late February, and we'll be most likely allowed to get some of that data and use that to guide our committee and just general updates. Last one, thank gosh. And the HR transformation project is also still in progress. The design phase is completed, and they're getting ready to transition to implementing this with 7 different planning teams. So HR is very busy, and we're very glad that Caroline comes to our meetings and gets us up to date on all of those. Return.
Sure. So a few more, kind of to dovetail off the HR transformation project. You may hear HR redefined. So try to reach out to your local HR rep to kind of get more feedback. But I think at the end of the day, they're looking to have some business partners. It's kind of the terminology they're using. And I'm not sure what that's going to look like as far as if people compete for positions, and maybe there needs to be some backfilling, but there's probably going to be a whole redistribution of HR resources at the end of the day. Shout out to Travis and/or Jessica for continuing to reach out on continuing education and conferences to see if tuition assistance for employees can be expanded to their certificates and programs. We're looking to get feedback there. I think he's spoken with Kelly, who was just here earlier. Travis is also looking into seeing if we can retain postdoc email accounts to help with that correspondence, I guess, between the PIs and those involved, because sometimes that can be rather problematic if the email address no longer exists to go back for archival purposes. Amanda off of our committee is helping with mental health spaces, as we shared in the past. And we are working to get the lactation spaces back on the internet or the website, so everybody can know where those are located. Still working through those spaces once we determine a spot on, obviously there would probably need to be some locking mechanisms if it's a dual space, if it's for mental health and lactation. So we're walking through that. Meditation prayer spaces are open to faculty and staff, in addition students as well. So we're hoping to have that promoted and updated on the employee resources page. And that's a nice segue into the employee resources page is a project underway that we're working through with Amanda Castles. And that will be basically a benefits well-being section. The goal is to have that up and running by July 1st. Let's see if there's anything else. And then the one thing that going back to Travis checking on the certifications and programs to see if tuition assistance could help, that's dictated by HR policy 1.61. So AKA we got to go through Carolina Guardy. So, anybody have any questions? I know that was a lot.
Quick note about the lactation rooms. You still can find them if you are going through the campus map and you search by it. They actually didn't know the list was down. There used to be a page, and that's kind of just a couple employee resources are not present anymore because they are redesigning that website. So if you notice anything that you think should be online you can't find, let us know. Amanda Castles did say that will be like the test project. So like look over their that pages once they have the test page ready to make sure there's nothing missing that we think would be helpful. But if you do or know someone who needs lactation spaces, they are still here. You just have to go through the campus map and search by that to find them.
All right, thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next is our report from the Professional Development Committee.
We have no updates for you.
Awesome, thank you. Next, the Community Projects Committee.
Lots of updates. Oh, awesome, thank you. So we've got to share some pictures from our, let's see, just hit the button. We had our first Keep the Midlands Beautiful street cleanup on, I think that was November 16th. And we had 10 volunteers that showed up, and we all collected 32 pounds of trash, and it was only an hour. So if anybody's worried about signing up for the next one, it was really quick. It's less than a mile. We start at the Dreer High School Dunkin' Donuts side and go down to the Midas, and then came right back. And so it was just a fun little day. We all got together, took pictures. We're going to have a date in February, but we don't have that determined yet. So we will update you guys at the next meeting on the February date. But we'd love to have you guys at the next one. It was a lot of fun. And we had great donations for the Carolina Closet Clothing Drive. We filled up the donation bin from what you guys turned in at the last meeting, and I know we've got some more coming, some other people that took their clothes even before that. You can always take food or clothing and shoe donations to the Gamecock Community Shop, which is right there at the Carolina Coliseum. It's really easy to find. So it's right there at 701 Assembly Street, and there's parking right outside of there, and they have a big donation bin, and it's really simple to just throw that in there. So if you're cleaning out your closet before the new year, right after the new year, please take your donations there and not to any other donation spots, because I think that they really need it, and they go through clothes really fast at the Carolina Closet. We also took student supplies for our first year teacher. This was right before Thanksgiving. Thank you to Chris, to the College of Education, the Carolina TIP program, who connected us with Miss West. She's a College of Education graduate, and it's her first year teaching Spanish to 6th, 7th, and 8th graders at Irmo Middle School, and she was so grateful. I will be sending you guys an email with a video that we took of her thanking everyone. You're welcome to forward that to your constituents if you would like to as well, and we'd love to do that again, maybe in the spring or at least next year. So it was great to be able to present her with lots of school supplies. She was so excited. We're continuing our tab drive for Ronald McDonald House. I'm going to take a picture of all of the ones we have right now because it's a great amount, but y'all keep collecting them. I didn't realize how much soda I drank until I started collecting these, but it adds up quickly, and they can exchange that for money. We're going to set up a date, probably February or March, to turn those in and maybe do a little something with Ronald McDonald House. So we'll be in touch about that. And then Chakira got some information, and I don't have a slide about this, but the MLK Day of Service with the USC Leadership and Service Center is going to be held on January 18th. That's a Saturday, and there's going to be several different opportunities to volunteer with the Office of Sustainability. There's also a Game Changers where they're going to be cleaning property, painting, and cleaning gutters, or a sport-based activities with youth where you'll be doing dodgeball or other group-style sport games. So a little something for everyone if you're interested in doing an MLK service project. That link, we've been told the sign-up will be available through the Leadership and Service Center next week. So we'll email that out to you if anyone is interested. So thank you all for helping us with all of our drives. We've had a lot going on, so really great. Really great.
Thank you. Bylaws Committee. Thank you. Next, we have the Staff Awards and Recognition Committee, which Ashley Dantzler could not be here because of a big provost event happening this afternoon, this evening. And so she would like everyone to know, and I think it went out by email today from Jessica, that we would love staff senators to sign up to help support our Staff Appreciation Day by joining a subcommittee, either the protocol subcommittee, logistics, decoration, or or entertainment. Communications isn't necessary because I think our communications group is going to take the lead on that and help make sure that they do all of that work. And so we ask that you peruse this, look at the information, and sign up by our next Staff Senate meeting, January the 14th. So then these subcommittees can begin working so that we can execute another wonderful staff appreciation day, making it a true team effort. Don't forget to save the date, May 22nd, which will be here before you know it. It's gonna just be crazy. Any questions about that? And if you do, you can let someone on the exec know, or let Ashley Dantzler know. And more information will be flowing once the new year arrives.
That was gonna be emailed, I thought, to us, the save the date, so we could share it with people.
And okay, we will put that on the list and make sure that it is. Thank you. Michaela, do you still have did you make the save the date for us? Oh, okay. Well, there we go. We'll find out who made it and send that out to everybody. I just assumed it was your handiwork, but okay, we'll take care of that. Thank you. Fellowship and Fundraising Committee.
All right, I just have one main update, is that we've picked a date for the golf tournament, and it is the Thursday before the staff appreciation. It's May 15th. So we don't have a golf course yet, but we have a date. And so we'll get back to you with more information when we have that.
Awesome. So reserve that in. And there also, Michelle, if you wanted to mention it, I think your slide is still there if anybody wanted to donate.
Please give. To Staff Senate Fund.
Awesome. There you go. Thank
And
you.
there could be a present that you get if you give. We don't advertise the present yet.
There you go.
But you may get one.
Everybody likes a surprise. So that's really, really good. Thank you very much. And last with a major update is our Communications Committee.
Hello, everyone. Yes, I was supposed to send out that save the date for staff appreciation in the November newsletter we did, but oopsies, I didn't send the November update newsletter. That's on me. It was right before Thanksgiving, and I actually was in New York with the band all of Thanksgiving and got to march in the parade. So I was booked and busy, but we will do a big end of year December update after, well, probably next week. We'll review it and get it out. So we will include all the updates and more in that. So it'll be probably very long.
Putting it on here so we can share it.
It's already
Yeah.
there.
Oh, okay. I'll just stand here and look pretty.
One update to start with, and wanted to tell you all about an event. It's called Pause for the Holidays. There I am with Santa. He told me I was on the nice list, so that's good. These are actually my grand puppies. I'm a grandma to 9 mini golden doodles, and I've brought them around campus before, but my friends at Gamecock Entertainment have actually booked Russell Underground on December 18th from 9 to 11. So I'll be bringing 9 pepperonis with me. They are called Wrigley's Reindeer, since there are 9 reindeer. So if you need a pause before the holidays, feel free to come and snuggle a puppy, take an early lunch or run an errand. That way, I'll, of course, include this in the recap. They're super cute. And if you want one, let me know. This litter is spoken for, but I'm always selling. So, but yes, more to come on that. Or I will send that out as well. Oh.
And they came to our our online Zoom meeting.
Yes, they are honorary communications committee members. All right, so the biggest thing we want to share real quick is we have officially refreshed the Staff Senate website. Yes, thank you. This was pretty much one of the main goals for the communications committee this semester. So we reviewed the entire website as a committee. We did a huge proposal document of things we wanted to change and edit and add and move around. We, of course, did lots of edits and lots of reviews, and we are still in the review cycle right now on Tom Harmon, part of our committee. He could not be here today, but he is working on going through it with a fine-tooth comb and editing things. So if you see any typos, of course, we would love to know, but the pages are still getting finished and wrapped up and edited. So I did a rough count, and it was about 15 hours, probably more than that, hours of review and edit and working to change the website. So lots of work went into this. I'm very thankful for the communications committee for all of our hard work. Our goal here was just to kind of simplify things. So we simplified the navigation, we added some new pages and moved some pages around. We added a new minutes archive. We realized we had the agenda and minutes archive, but there were no minutes. It was just the agenda. And so we figured if someone really wanted to see what we were doing, they would probably want to go read the minutes and not just the agenda. So we created a new minutes archive dating back to the very beginning. We might be missing a few still, but we're filling it in as we go. And then we added a few more photos because why not? What next? If you do have active links that you share often to the Staff Senate website, just go ahead and give those a check and click on them and make sure they're still taking you to the right pages. And moving the navigation, it did change a few of the links. So just a notice there, you'll get a 404 error if you have like linked to something previously and that page moved. So go ahead and do check those links if you send them out. And then also another section we added, I forgot that to the other page, is I've added a current project section. So this is to kind of advertise, you know, the golf tournament coming up or the clothing drive or the pool tabs. And so we have a new project section right on the homepage. And so if there is something that you do want highlighted on the website, obviously we're including everything in the newsletter that we send out, but that updated project section is going to be pretty fluid, and we're going to update that as much as we can. So as always, edits and feedback are welcome. We're going to show just the real quick navigation. Everyone can read here, so we're not going to go through every single page, but feel free to review at your own time. Send edits our way, and we edit thoughts, comments. Obviously, this was, you know, you can see our communications committee members. We're the only ones who kind of had the say in things. So if something doesn't make sense, let us know. And yeah, so I'm just going to show really quick. sc.edu/staff senate is still the short link. So yay, we have updated banners here, and I did something so fancy that as you refresh, a new banner pops up. So right now there's 3 banners, and so just to kind of add a few more photos here. So obviously these are things that can change, and we will update as needed. And then this is the new-ish homepage. Still the same, meeting and agenda is always going to be right there on top. But then this is the new current Staff Senate project section that's going to be fluid, and we'll update it and take it down if nothing's happening, but that will be fluid there. Added a few different call outs here. So again, lots to review on your own time, but wanted to take y'all through the left navigation really quick. So Staff Senate, still, that's the main homepage. And then we have About, and we kind of squashed the Staff Senate toolbox. We thought some of the information was repeated, and we didn't know if toolbox was the right word there. So we kind of moved things under the About section. So there's the About page here that just serves as the basic information. And then we have officially added a Staff Senate accomplishment. So we will update this by year. So when someone does say, what did Staff Senate do? You're able to send them directly to this page to just show them like, oh yeah, we've been booked and busy here too. So this will update obviously as each Staff Senate turns. We do have a Join Staff Senate button, and this was actually a Staff Senate formation page, but we thought Join was a little more, inviting, and two, made a little more sense because it has, when can you campaign? Who can you nominate? Stuff like that. How many senators are representing? So this is a good page if you're not going to run again in your unit. If you want to send this out, lots of information. We also have taken off any dates that are not current. So we have done some mid-May, mid-April dates there because that's when we the elections or whatnot will be finalized or something like that. So know that we do not have official dates on here, but as we know official dates, we will add them back. FAQ page, nothing changed here, just made it a little prettier. And then, as Julia was saying, go read these bylaws because they are, we do vote on them a lot, and so they are changed a good bit. So that is where all of our bylaws are there. I realized our page where we are shining was kind of buried under the toolbox or the about page. So I actually made staff senators a left navigation since we are the heart of the program here. So staff senators can now be found right there on the left navigation. And then right under staff senators is our lovely executive committee. So easy to find there. Meetings, this page didn't really change much, but still has, the current meeting. And then right under it has the meetings for this year. As the meeting finishes, we will link the meeting minutes under the year. And then you'll notice under the navigation over here, but also at the very end here, this links to the minutes archive. So this is linked out to all the minutes from the beginning. And I think I did find this May and March, but I am looking for February 14th, 2023, if anyone has those minutes. Yes, I did. Yeah. We found the other two. I might just, they were buried. It's a very big Teams channel. I don't recommend getting lost in it. And then one other thing we added, since this was a huge accomplishment of ours, is a tab for Staff Appreciation Day. Again, this page will change as more information comes for this year, but we do have the date on there. We've left the FAQs just because they were good, nicely written, and we will use a lot of them for the next year. So we will update that as needed. And then under the Staff Appreciation Day, we have linked Staff Senate Awards for the awards that we give out, with the asterisk of, as the president does want to make the awards day for staff bigger and better, this page could change some if, if we don't own this award or whatever it is. It could move, but right now, Staff Senate Awards lives under Staff Appreciation because that's where we presented it last year. And yeah, that is the new website. Again, if you see anything, please let us know. Lots of edits and things went into it, but lots of great work from all of the great communications committee, which is Jim, Lori, Tashahan, Marky, Tom, Brett, and myself.
Awesome.
Yeah. And also, as a little holiday Cersei, I brought some stickers from the communications committee with cocky and stuff, and the old brand campaign that's ended now, so they're vintage.
Limited edition.
Vintage, I love that. Thank you again to the communications committee for this heavy lift. I know it was hours and hours. We got a preview of it. A couple of us last week, I can't even remember now when it happened. And so thank you for that. And again, thank you to all of you for your committee work. That is the true heart and soul of what we do. And please note that it is not, it is appreciated by your exec committee and by your constituents in addition to your day job kind of thing. So please know that we appreciate all that you do. We don't have any business to attend to, so we will move straight into announcements in good of the order. I have a few. One, please don't forget about the MLK commemorative breakfast that you can sign up for now if you were interested. The information of when it is going to happen is there. That will also coordinate with, which was mentioned, the day of service is going to be happening near the same time as well. I also wanted to mention to everybody, and I'm gonna see if I can get this right, because this was new to us. Faculty Senate met and had a concern that they brought forward to Megan and the executive committee about the lack of being able for staff to be able to, and faculty to get discounted tickets to athletic events, especially women's basketball, to which Tyson replied very, very quickly that now has changed. And so the complimentary tickets are back. For women's basketball.
One more year left, yeah. It had website issues.
Yes, so it says the website outlines the different sports and how staff faculty can access tickets. It also includes the GOVX link to staff faculty to purchase reduced rate tickets. The website is being edited to reflect the women's basketball complimentary ticket update. So that is coming. So if that is something to which you'd like to participate, you will be able to. Yes, ma'am.
There is a limit.
Oh, absolutely. As there always has been. Sorry, it's not. Yes.
Once they reach that limit, if you're at the door, you know, you'll be terminated.
But is it still the same, like, U+3?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Other announcements are good for the order that you'd like to share with the body. Anybody?
Clemson had a press release. They'll be all sellers. You're just wishing them
happy. Great. Good. Any other announcements are good for the order? Anybody? I will say, please remember our next meeting is going to be in the new year, January the 12th. It is my hope, Senator Castellone's hope, as well as the executive committee, that you all have a wonderful winter break, that you all find it a true respite. I know I'm counting the days for the university to fully close, and then my email kind of goes silent for the only time out of the year, and it is the best time of the year. I hope it turns out to be the same for you. Do we have the motion to adjourn? Senator Carey, is there a second? Where is the second? Oh, thank you. I was like, I can't even see with my eyes. All those in favor?
Wait, who was the second?
Lee, thank you. All those in favor? Opposed? Oh, we are adjourned. Thank you so much. Thank you for everything. How you doing?